All right. Being intentional when it comes to producing music for TV has its rewards. And I think that's why it's important to follow instructions when you have a brief or something like that, um, because it can actually end up paying you a lot more than if you didn't. So I came across a discovery, and this is the second time this has happened. The second time I've seen that this year. The first time, it was March Madness. During March Madness, I had some music placed on, man, I want to say, I think it was CBS. I think it was. And it was interesting because I look at the cue sheet. So anytime you get music placed on TV, the TV production company will they have to create what's called a cue sheet, and that's literally like a list of all the music that's used, the percentages of each writer on each track, the type of usage, the length of use, and the title of the work. So every time you get a placement, you get this cue sheet. At least with CSAC, which is my PRO, we see cue sheets. I know ASCAP, you get cue sheets with ASCAP. I'm not sure if BMI implemented that. Like I've seen like a version. I don't know. Like when I was with BMI, it was like years ago, and it didn't come across as like a cue sheet, but I would see. It was just weird. I don't know. If you're with BMI and you're getting placements, let me know if BMI gives you like a full cue sheet for episodes that you produce music for. So if I get one piece of music placed on a TV show, I will literally get the entire cue sheet for the entire show, the entire episode, which is dope because listen, if you can just get to your first placement and you can get access to that cue sheet literally lists out all the publishers that had music placed on that show. So it gives you literally more leads to be able to reach out to, build relationships, and you know that these companies are getting, they're getting syncs. So you got to get to that first placement. If you don't know how to get to that first placement or that first sync deal, download my free sync producer quick start guide. The link is in the description. I'll pin a comment as well. Download that. That'll give you the steps to be able to at least get to that point, and then the floodgates open from there. But I'm looking, so March Madness, I'm looking through the cue sheet and noticed that there was a track I produced, and that track was used for well over 3 minutes. It was close to like 4 minutes. Now, the interesting thing is that I don't typically produce music longer than 2, maybe 2.5 minutes. So I was just like, that's interesting, because if I don't produce music past 2 minutes, but they used almost 4 minutes, what does that tell me? Well, that tells me they took a track and they found a nice little edit point to be able to loop that track for as long as they needed to loop it for, which is beneficial for me because in sync, the longer it plays, the more it pays. So if I can get them to use my music for as long as possible during a specific cue, the more I'm gonna make in royalties. So I seen 2 instances of the same track during March Madness used, same type of use, same channel. I think they both were on CBS. One track only played for, I can't remember, maybe, I don't know, I think it was like under a minute. So I think I got a few bucks. Like it might have been, I can't remember, it might have been like 15, anywhere between like $15 to $30 for that one use. But the one that played for like 3 minutes and something, I got paid $300 and some change for that one use. And that's what I mean by like the longer it plays, the more it pays. So it's imperative that like when you're producing the music for TV, that you're creating these edit points, these sting endings, these pauses in the track, making sure that you have parts in your track that are easily loopable, to where if they wanted to just loop your verse, right, or loop the hook, you make that easy. You don't have like a bunch going on to where, you know, it just doesn't sound right. You can't just easily loop it. Making sure you have like simple BPMs. Like, don't do that weird 157.9765 BPM, because that's just weird. Like, make it a nice even or odd number, just a whole number. Make it a whole number. So I was like, dope, like that's what's up, that's great. So I seen it happen a second time. This time it was on an episode of Basketball Wives on VH1. Now this one went way extreme. Like I'm even wondering right now, like, is this a possible typo on the cue sheet? Because this is the longest I've ever seen a track looped. Again, the majority of my tracks that I produce for TV and film are around 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes long. And I know for sure, like, the track that was using Basketball Wives was no longer than like 2 minutes. So I'm going through cue sheets again, new cue sheets that came up, Basketball Wives, going through the episode. Typical uses on like reality shows like this, you'll see, you know, 15 seconds, 17, 19 seconds here. You'll get one that pop up about 47 seconds or whatever. Not a bunch of long uses, right? So I look at the placement I had on the show. This joint was over 6 minutes long. I was like, fam, what and how? So I'm like, okay, first I gotta figure out, I gotta do some deeper research. I gotta find the episode, see if I can watch it and listen to see like what was happening. What did they do to stretch this out to 6 minutes long? Now my theory is, because of how I structured the music, they found a section in that track that was easily loopable, and they just kept looping that joint, and they was just like, we just gonna keep this vibe going for 6 minutes. Now it's hard for me to, I don't know, like I'm gonna have to really watch the episode, because I'm like, man, on a reality show, I'm trying to think of like a scene that's like 6 minutes long with the same vibe and energy, because a lot of times they're switching tracks to match like the mood of the scene or whatever, and there's just no need to keep a track going for 6 minutes long. Sports, I can understand it, because, you know, you have like those highlight segments, you have it's sports, man. It's just like high energy stuff like all the time, especially during March Madness, where there's just a lot of talking going on, there's a lot of music. I can see that. I can see 4 minutes of music being used. 6 minutes on Basketball Wise, I'm like, okay, I need to dig deeper. But that's the second time that's happened, man. And what it just shows me is that you have to be intentional when you're creating your music for sync. Don't just throw anything out there. If you're intentional, you're structuring your music, like how I showed, you know, my Sync Producer Hub members in the How to Structure Instrumentals for TV course inside the community. Like, I show you that for a reason, because that's the stuff I've been seeing that has had success, like using that structure and kind of adding certain things in there that makes it mad easy for editors to be able to like loop your track and just find those great edit points. So yeah, so when you're creating music for TV, be intentional. Have in mind that, hey, I want editors to have the easiest time possible making this track as long as they want to make it, because the longer it plays, the more it pays. All right, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.